FNCS is finally back. I didn't make a video yesterday because I wanted to talk about who qualified with both days combined, and we had a banger tournament. Now, play-ins isn't too difficult. Most of the big teams made it through. It's top 99 teams from both days combined, which isn't really that hard for most big teams, but it's still cool to see who's doing really well. And even more importantly, we now know who's in which group, who's getting contested, and I'm going to give you guys my predictions of who I think is going to make it through to grand finals. So to kick off over on NA, we had Aegis, Akon, and Poyo putting on an absolute clinic, getting 1,211 points. They played out 20 matches. They had an average elims of 18 and an average placement of 14.65. That doesn't sound that crazy. When you put it across 20 games, that is a ridiculous amount of points. Now, in second, we had Rapid, Kanata, and Bolts on 1,119. We then had Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot. So Pete's team very much locked back in grinding. They were already qualified after day one. So were most of these teams over 1,000 points. They still went in and played day two locked in. Now, there is a bit of a rumor for why Pete's team was trying so hard in the qualifiers, and it is the fact that Peterbot was either trying to avoid or get into Poyo's group. So this is for a number of reasons. A lot of people talked about this. If we have Pete versus Poyo in groups, will they both qualify? Maybe Pete could try and grief Poyo. Maybe Poyo can grief Pete. There was a lot of debate around whether Pete's team would try to or not try to get into Poyo's group. Now, it goes both ways. If you get in their group, you then have the ability to take them down. Maybe you get like a 20 kill second in the first game. You suspiciously fall off high ground so you don't get the win, so you don't qualify, and then you try to take them out so they don't even make grands. That's what a lot of people were talking about, but they can do that to you as well. And in a spawn fight that is going mostly even, that is a little bit sketchy. So I'm confused because I heard from a lot of people like saying in DMs that Pete was trying to deliberately not get in Poyo's group, and that's why they played day two and locked in, because the easiest way to make sure you don't get in someone's group if they place top 3 is you also place top 3, because the seeding goes first, second, third into each group, and then it goes third, second, first, and then first, second, third, and it kind of flips. So if someone gets first and you get second or third, you are guaranteed to not be in their group. And that's what I thought until we had Peterbot and Poyo go at it on spawn one time in the opens. Pete's team managed to win, and then Pete was telling his teammate to build up and fall off so they would die, go back to the lobby and try to contest Poyo again. He said he wanted the off-spawn practice. That makes me think that he wants off-spawn practice and he doesn't care about making sure that he doesn't get in the same group. Now, they were both qualified at this point. Pete's not trying to grief Poyo out of qualifying, but it did show that Pete wanted to con him on spawn and wanted the practice, and potentially didn't mind if he got put in the same group. Now, a bit of a spoiler, I'll go through the list in a second, but Pete and Poyo didn't get in the same group because first and third. But it was an interesting point of conversation a lot of people were talking about, but I thought, honestly, we always seem to have the craziest scripts where the two big teams contesting each other always seem to get put in the same group, but not this time around. Now, we had 2 more teams break 1,000 points on NA. Reed, Cooper, and Curly in 4th, and Clicks, Higgs, and Yomzo in 5th. Now, you'll notice 4 of these 5 teams are already qualified for LAN, Kanata's team being the only one that isn't. So no surprise, our big, already LAN qualified teams are absolutely dominating. If you guys play mouse and keyboard or you're looking to swap, I have some very good news for you. My favorite mouse of all time, the Razer Death Adder, just got even better with the release of the Razer Death Adder V4 Pro. So what makes the V4 Pro even better than the V3 Pro? Because side by side they look quite similar, but there's been some huge improvements made that truly makes me think this is the best mouse on the market. The V4 features Gen 2 of Razer's hyperspeed wireless, so with the new dongle you have a better connection and 0.2 milliseconds of latency. That is insanely quick. It also has a brand new sensor allowing you to go up to 45,000 DPI and fine-tune the mouse to 1 singular DPI increments if you want to get extra specific. They have also increased the battery life, meaning you can use the mouse for up to 150 hours on a single charge. You're probably thinking with all these new features, they had to have made it heavier. No, they've made it even lighter. It is now 56 grams down from 63. So you're getting all these added features and it's even lighter. So to recap, you're getting lightning fast connection in a mouse with an even better sensor that is lighter and lasts for even longer without having to charge it. It's easy to see why I've been using the Death Adder now for over 15 years and it just keeps getting better. Just thought I'd include, if you've been watching any of the gameplay in the background, that was actually me testing out the new Razer Death Adder V4 on my stream. So you know if it's got me looking like this, you could be even better. So if you want to cop it, click the link in the description down below and make sure you use code Aussie5 at checkout to get 5% off your order. Enjoy. Now, going through the kin stats for this tournament, we can see obviously Poyo's team won it on the leaderboard, but most damage went to Peterbot with 33,682. Now, it's worth mentioning after day 1, Peterbot had 19,000. So, had a bit worse of a day 2 than a day 1, but still absolutely dominated. Elims went to Poyo on 165. Poyo got 165 elims to himself. We had assists going to Acorn Shadow with the best damage multiplier as well. We have a bunch of other stats after that, but I'm mostly focused on the damage, and it was Peterbot in first overall, Poyo in second. So Poyo and Pete, the only 2 players to get over 30,000 damage, and then third place went to Iomzo. So kind of crazy when we think about IGLs and the fact that we have 2 of the IGLs, Pete and Iomzo, both getting top 3 in damage for their trios. Just insane performances from both of them. Moving on over to EU in the qualifiers, we only had 2 teams break the 1,000 point threshold. We had Chino, Pablo, and Fredoxy, who absolutely popped off. 19 games, 1,054 points, getting 3 wins. They had an average elims of 14.37. In second, we had our underrated Polish goats. I really shouldn't call them underrated anymore. If you don't know how crazy Pixdam and Damus are, you haven't been paying attention, but the blow up this trio has had, it's very rare you have 3 players like this all start playing together and start dominating. We've seen in the past, you know, pop-offs like when Mero picked up Cooper and then Cooper won LAN and came top 2 in FNCS. We had Chap get picked up by Teeny. They started popping off, but it's very rarely you see 3 players who basically no one's heard of start playing together and they all go crazy. They're not just like getting carried or, you know, getting the experience of a better player. They're just building together and looking ridiculous. So huge shout out to them. Then we had Pink, Nebs, and Kuro, a bit of a jump down in third. We had Tiddy, Moneymaker, and Fanayan. Now remember, Money and Fanayan actually dropped Faded Pigeon the day before FNCS picked up Tiddy, and it looks like with good reason. And then to round out the top 5, we have Hlekus, Ilusha, and Velry. Now, I do want to talk about the stats on EU as well, especially the damage stats, because it is very clear how Fredoxy's team dominated when all 3 of them, the entire trio, had the most damage done of any player in the entire tournament. They got the first, second, and third damage, with 4th place being Swizzy. So that trio is looking extremely good. Now, on the stats, as you can imagine, it is mostly Fredoxy's trio across the board as well. So we had most damage done by Fredoxy, most elims Fredoxy, most assists Pablo. Then we had most damage ratio, Thomas HD. Thomas always got to get on the stats leaderboard somehow. And then damage per minute Fredoxy. So we had the Danes across the board on damage, the Danes showing why they are some of the most feared players in every lobby. I do want to say this was one of the most fun FNCS play-ins to watch because just everyone was making so much content. On EU, you've got orgs like Gentle Mates and Havoc absolutely carrying. Gentle Mates is just signing all the best players. So you have so many POVs through Nikov's watch party and then Waz's watch party of Havoc. Over on NA, for whatever reason, everyone decided to go live. So we had Clix's trio live, we had Peterbot and Ritual go live, so we got to watch Pete's POV, and I'm going to show you a crazy clutch in a second. We had Aegis streaming Poyo's POV, Curly went live, so did Reed. Pretty much all the top teams streaming. It was super fun to watch. We're still missing a few. Muzz was only streaming to me in Discord. We didn't have Booga or Kanata, but for the most part, it really was just a content fest across the board, which I am obviously absolutely loving. Now, I did tease it. We had a ridiculous solo clutch from Peterbot. I wasn't going to go back and make this like a react video, but I really wanted to show you how hard Peterbot popped off as a solo, because I know there's been a lot of smack talk around Peterbot, and a lot of people thinking this might not be Pete's season. He pulled off this. All right, keep your eyes peeled on the feet. It's about to get crazy. It's going to get very hard to keep track in a second here.
You might have the metal builds. You might have the metal builds.
Yeah, some of those builds are.
That's all fight. That's all fight.
Caught at 7? Nah, caught at 6, bro. The one you died in Storm, you're counting twice.
Yeah. 20. Dropping a little bit. Burning up on me. Above me. On me.
100. 100. Stay on it.
Dead.
Rishi gets that one. That's 6.
Burning up.
Oh, 6, 6, 6.
No, that one went up.
Oh. 7. Oh my god, we're pulling ahead.
51.
Another one down as well.
You got a storm. You got a storm on me. Don't kill him. Don't kill him.
Oh, wait, P got credit for that, right? That's 8. Did P get credit for that? That's 8. Now, I know you're thinking, those of you guys out there who are Clicks fans or fans of some of the other big teams, Aussie, you can't give all the spotlight to Pete. Now, Clicks had some insane performance as well. Clicks' team dropping 2 almost 50 kill wins back to back. Now, I do want to try and make a react video on these potentially, but I am flying to Dallas in about 2 hours from now. I literally have to finish recording this video, instantly finish my packing, drive to the airport and head to Dallas. So I just physically do not have time right now, but don't worry, that content is coming. And that's why for my few videos for the next month and my streams, you'll notice my background is different. This is my last recording in Australia. So I'm sorry for the Clicks fans. I know I'm not giving as much highlights of Clicks right now. I just need to film that video when I get there. Now, let's talk about the groups and let's talk about who's dropping where and who I think is going to qualify. Now, it is worth mentioning right now, these could change. The way the rule is supposed to work is if, let's say, someone gets banned in like 60-second, they get banned. Instead of all of the groups shuffling down from there, Fortnite is supposed to take that 60-second person out and then slot the 100th team in and nothing changes. That unfortunately didn't happen last season. So this group could change, but as of right now, this is where the groups stand. This is what we're 90% sure they're going to stay as. Last season, when I made this video, it stayed the same for EU, but they ruined NA. It doesn't look like anyone, as far as I can see in the top 99, is a blatant cheater. So fingers crossed, it doesn't change, but it's still fun to look at. It's still fun to talk about. We don't have the NA drop maps made just yet, again, because I do have to jump on the plane, but we have the EU maps. So I want to kick off with who I think is going to get top 10 on each EU group, and then I'll talk about top 10 on NA. But again, my NA predictions, we don't have the drop map for. But NA is a bit easy to predict. EU is the hardest by far anyway, because there's just so many more big names. And if you're in Group 3, which unfortunately Mongrel and Mr. Savage are, you are in one of the hardest groups in the history of Fortnite. Group 3 on EU is ridiculous. The other two groups are still hard, but oh boy, Group 3 is not looking fun. I really do feel for Mongrel, especially in this one. These aren't in any particular order. I'll go through them. So I think we're going to have on our top 10 for Group 1 on EU, Sky Scroll and Thomas HD. They're dropping Rainbow Fields, Trulex, Teeny, and Skivvy. Now, I will point out Teeny's team needed to win the last game of Opens just to clutch the qualification. They came 97th overall. I'm not super confident in that, but I gotta back him. There's no way the caliber of Trulex and Teeny aren't good enough to make it out of groups. I know they didn't last season, but I have to hope they can do it out of Foxy Floodgate. Then Vidil, Cringe, and Volko out of the Outpost. They've been looking incredible right now. They were contested in eval this week. They won 3 of the games off spawn and went on to win 1 of the games as well. We have Combeck, Shark, and Blaha at the bridge. I think Shark is really finally showing the potential a lot of people have been hyping him up to have, so I think he is definitely locked in. Feroxy, Pablo, and Chino, uncontested Supernova. You saw the stats from Opens. You saw the eval cup this week. They won 2 of the 4 games. They're definitely going to qual, most likely off a win. Then we have Vanya, Pixie, and Marius dropping the Frogs. They're the reigning FNCS champions. They're uncontested. That is a no-brainer. Wheat, Nafrizzi, and Sined at Pump Power. A very good team at a very good drop. Now, my first team that I have predicted to qualify well contested, Refsguard, Mumsy, and Skyjump at Crime City. Now, again, I talked about it during the Eval Cup. I love that the Frenchies have picked up an experienced Danish player like Refsguard. I think that's a very, very good trio, and I hope they're going to be the one team to qualify contested out of this group. Then I have Dynas, Giras, and Frantic out of Canyon, and Rax, Belusi, and Zangi out of Resistance. Group 1, not too difficult. I think this is the second hardest group on EU, but again, it's got nothing on Group 3, but I still do think it's a bit harder than Group 2, maybe. It is worth mentioning the main reason why I think it's harder than Group 2 is because of the format. Again, in case you don't know, there's 5 games in groups. If you win 1 game, you go straight through to Grands. If you get top 5 without a win, you also go through to Grands. So I think Group 1 across the board has an overall harder lobby, but I think the top 10 is slightly weaker than Group 2. But again, they are very close. Now, Group 2, I have Pix, Dharm, and Damus out of Utopia. Again, like I said, absolute goats right now, no-brainer. Seti, Yapco, and Panzer at the bridge. Again, no-brainer. Focus, Mix, and Upple, they've been looking really strong, and they're going resistance base for this one. They're uncontested. Very, very solid drop. I actually have the teams at resistance base in every group qualifying. We also have Chris, Chicho, and Tayson at Crime City. Tayson's been a little bit quiet for a while now, but I think the main reason for that issue is because they're quite often contested. They are currently uncontested as far as the drop map goes. Then we have Country, Pradage, and Finnick over at Pump Power. Then we have my first contested team in Group 2 that I think is going to do it. Ping, Wox, and Malabuka at Demon's Domain. Again, absolute no-brainer. Even though they're conned, all they've got to do is make it off spawn once or twice and win the game, and I think they can easily do that. Strapped, Hellfire, and Tripburn out of Outlaw. Not a great drop, but this trio I think is good enough to bring it home. Dexy, Eclipse, and Twy. Now, they were contested on the mountain. Now they're uncontested. I don't know how it's going to go, but either way, I think this team is going to qual off a win. They are extremely aggressive. They love dropping lots of elims in the mid game and then going on to pop off, so I think they can definitely bring home a win. Then we have Robin, Zandy, and Faded. So Faded got dropped by Moneymaker. I still have them predicted to do well here out of Canyon. And then we have Hlekus, Ilusha, and Velry out of the field. So again, pretty solid top 10. I think Group 1 and Group 2 are quite similar, but I think they should still both be really fun to watch. And as always on EU, it's worth mentioning, I could be very wrong. It is so hard to predict EU because there's so many pros. Last up, Group 3, and oh boy, I'm going to get some hate for this one, so I'll just go through it. I'm just going to tank it. We have Vico, Veno, Flixie, who were being contested at Brutal Boxcars by Aiden's team. Yes, ADN, OG Pro. Apparently, they're not being contested anymore, but either way, whether they're contested or not, I have them qualifying through Boxcars. Then we have iDrop, Hari, and Cammy over at the bridge. No brainer. Akira, Kurama, and Werix, I think they honestly have the hopes and dreams of a French land qual on their back right now. They're dropping the old dojo split. Then we have Savage, Rezon, and Chap at the Resistance base. Currently, uncontested. I don't know how the stars aligned to have set Mr. Savage uncontested. It's probably because we have Mongrel being contested. So I'll already address this one. I don't have Mongrel in my top 10. I'm sorry, he's contested at Pump Power, and I just think this group is by far the hardest group. If he was contested at Pump Power, I would make the argument he could qual out of a Group 2 or a Group 1, but there are way too many insane teams in this group who are also uncontested to have Mongrel in my top 10. I hope he gets uncontested. I'm scared because the team that's conning him is not a super well-known team. I don't think they're going to play to grief. They don't seem like a team that's target griefing Mongrel. I just think they're going to draw the spawn fight out potentially, or make it a messy spawn fight, which means neither of them do well, which means neither of them win, so neither of them get the drop uncontested. Mongrel could switch drops. There's a couple of splits open on the map right now. I know over near Old Whiffy Wharf split is open right now. Maybe a team qualifies early out of a drop and Mongrel takes that. I hope I am wrong here, but I'm sorry, I don't have Mongrel in my top 10. Then we have CZB, Nathan, and Axe Force out of Uncontested Outlaw. Again, not the best drop. I don't know what it is with CZB and Nathan's luck to always get put in the hardest group, but I hope they can pull it off yet again. We have Pink, Nebs, and Kira from First Order, one of the strongest teams on EU right now. They're looking really solid. And then I have both teams from Demon's Domain qualifying. Now, I could be wrong here. My prediction is Queasy's team wins a game very early on in one of the first 2 games, and then Artskill can go on and win a game out of Demon's Domain as well, and they both qualify. But that is if Queasy or maybe Artskill don't have a really good first game and then deliberately throw it to try to grief the other team. Both Artskill and Queasy's teams want to go Demon's Domain in the finals. Queasy knows he's going to be contested by at least Malabuka. He could potentially play to grief and lock this down. He's already qualled land, but this group is very difficult. I think if they're in Group 2 or Group 1, Queasy might be more confident making that play. But in Group 3, there is a chance that Queasy could like throw the qual and then stay to grief and then actually mess up the qual. So I don't know. We'll see. But I have both of them currently picked. And then I have Prism, Kyrie, and Casper at the shafts. The only team I have predicted to qualify from the shafts in these groups. And then Fito, Cringe, and Rakuzan from the fields. I think Fito, Cringe, and Rakuzan, you could maybe slot them out and put Mongrel in there. If Mongrel was uncontested, I would have them over Cringe's team. But because they're uncon fields versus contested Pump Power, that is why I have Cringe's team edging out Mongrel. And those are my EU top 30. You can disagree or agree. I did my best. I tried not to let my emotions control it. I tried to be objective, but anything can happen. Now, let's go through my NA groups. Again, because there are just a lot less pros in general on NA, I feel like NA groups is a bit easier to predict because you have that like 5 or 6 teams you know is just locked in, gonna qualify from almost any group. And then there's a few harder picks after that. Now, it's also worth mentioning, again, the NA drop maps haven't been made yet. I would normally just wait around for a few hours before I do that, but I'm going to be on a plane in a few hours. So I'm doing my best here. On NA, I think the hardest group is Group 2, which is Clix's group. But on Group 1, I have absolute no-brainer, Aegis, Acorn, and Poyo. Then I have Aviv, G-Money, and Rise. Again, yes, G-Money and Rise are playing with Aviv now. Think of that what you will. They are back together. Taki, Ishu, and Vert, Booga, Threat, and Craze, Diego, OG, and Blake. I got the big OG qualifying. Then after this one, it gets a little bit more sketchy. Those are my 5 that I'm pretty confident, especially Booga, Taki, Aviv, and Aegis. But for my next 5, I kind of have Day, Jack, and Boji. Day and Jack have been contested a lot at the like tennis court split, I guess you could call it. I haven't seen this team play too much uncontested, but they have been really, really locked in, playing almost every game of scrims every single day. day. I think they can definitely qualify out of this group. Then we have Void, Broken, and King, Byler, TK, and Larson, which is quite a few OGs. I'm excited to see how that plays out. That's double controller trio though. Don't think that'll be too big of an issue in groups, but if they make grands, could be a bit more of an issue. Then we have Havoc, Silic, and Jargu, and then Aiden, Hound, and Carillion. For group number 2, our hardest group, this was a little bit tougher, but again, it shouldn't be too bad. We have Rapid, Kanata, and Bolts. Again, won a Div Cup, uncontested, I'm guessing, at Crime City. Should be chilling. Clicks, Higgs, and Iomzo, no brainer. They're on absolute fire right now. Muzz, Shadow, and Sphinx. Then Scare, Causes, and Magma. I think this team is going under a lot of people's radar. I think they can definitely pull off a land qual. Grands qual. Land's a bit crazy. Phaser, PH, Zin, and King, our Brazilian boys, they looked really good in opens. They kind of did just take a very long break to Miami for I think like 8 or 9 days during the summer break, but they came back. They looked good in opens. I think they're definitely good enough to make another grand finals. Visuals, Braids, and Diminished. This is our land qualified team. Mason, Golden, and Chimp, Noisy, Creon, and Tony. I think a lot of the English speaking community definitely sleeps on a lot of the Hispanic boys. I think Noisy, Creon, and Tony are a very solid team. Seek, Joji, and Donnie, and then Bryce, Skittles, and Dasharuni. Now, Bryce, Skittles, and Dasharuni, we haven't seen much from them. Bryce, Skittles, Dasharuni formed very last minute, but I'm kind of just going off the fact that those 3 players with the history they have and the experience they have are just on paper a phenomenal trio. They didn't do the greatest in opens. They were very far down the list in opens, but it's a different story when it comes to set lobbies. I think they're well known enough to get an uncontested drop in this group, and I think as long as they do, they should make it through. Lastly, group number 3, we have Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot. Reigning FNCS champions. They're going to be uncontested Demon's Domain. That should be a game 1 and done would probably be my prediction. We have Reed, Cooper, and Curly though, who could spoil the game 1 win. Another phenomenal team in this lobby. Noxy, Ozone, and Veer. Curve, Josh, and Tyler. Now, I actually think if Curve's team was uncontested at Outpost, they could actually be a LAN qualifying team. So I would be very shocked to see this team not make it into the finals. We then have Dukes, Edgy, and Chance. Again, I flame Dukes and Edgy a lot. I'm very close with both of them. I love this trio. They've locked in. They've been grinding like crazy. We have the duo FNCS champs of Dukes and Edgy running it back up. That should be a solid one. I can't see them getting contested at Brutal Boxcars. Then we have Possessed, Jays, and Rojo. Now, again, information on this one. Clicks has said he's actually going to be coaching Possessed team at Supernova. So if that comes off, I think for sure, lock it in. They should be qualifying. Npen, Zen, and Nut. Now, it's worth mentioning Npen's trio struggled in the opens. They had to kind of clutch it up on the second day, and even then, it came down to their last couple games. But opens is a very different story to set lobbies, so we'll see. Sinetto, Cam, and Osid, a lot of experience there. Really good fighting power. I think I could actually see them getting a win with a really dominant game. Dead Sales and Encrypted, I'm not sure what happened to this trio in opens. They are dropping on like the North Pump power split, which is for some reason really contested in opens, which might have been an issue for them, but outside of that, I see no dramas here. And then lastly, Neko, Fishy, and Chavi, again, a Hispanic team that I think goes under a lot of people's radar, and that rounds out my 30 teams I think will make it through groups on EU and NA. Remember, there are still 3 more spots up for grabs after groups in the last chance, so any teams that didn't make it through to groups, there was not really that many notable teams. We had Yanis and Noel Riley's team on EU miss out. We also had Frantic, Canary, and Soup, who I was cheering for on NA. There's a few other teams in the mix that could do it through last chance, but most of our big teams did make it through. Now remember, groups is taking place in only a few days. I will be in NA streaming that from Dallas. Again, unfortunately, I will be potentially missing the console cup. I'm sorry, console players, and the skin cup. If you guys have been asking for a solo cup, Fortnite actually gave us one, but it is a skin cup. So at least it's something. Jump in the skin cup is taking place in 2 days. If you guys want to play it, it is solos, builds, battle royale. So we have a tournament being added, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to play it or watch it. I was hoping to play it from NA Central. I will have just arrived that day, so we'll see. Maybe I'll have it set up. Maybe I can stream it, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, I'll let you guys know when I get there safely, and hopefully my next video is going to be from Dallas. See you guys.